Is this the Vols' most unexciting win over Florida ever? I don't even like the premise, Caleb, but I like you, so I want to do it because there should be no such thing as an unexciting win over Florida. Tennessee's fan base, come on. You just beat Florida. That's a game that you've been vexed for 30 years. So I don't get it, but Caleb, where does this win rank among the most unexciting wins in the Tennessee-Florida football series? By the way, I'll update you on the poll question, and that is the biggest takeaway from the Tennessee-Florida game. Tennessee beat Florida, 46%. Nico Iamaleava's play is concerning, is the majority. That means you think more of that than Tennessee beating Florida. I don't get it. Caleb, most unexciting wins against the Gators are?
Yeah, since Tennessee started playing Florida annually back in 1990, this is by far the most unexciting win they've had over Florida. Now, to be fair, they haven't had that many wins over Florida since 1990, but let's just go through them real quick. In 1990, Dave, that was Steve Spurrier's first year at Florida, and I think Florida was undefeated going into that game. They were number 3. Tennessee was in the running for an SEC title. Florida was on probation. And Florida was number 9, but they were undefeated. And they were the hot, what you call nouveau riche program under Spurrier. It was very clear what was happening. And Tennessee just draxed them 45-3. 92, Florida was ranked number 4, heavy favorites. And with a new quarterback in Heath Schuler and an interim coach in Philip Fulmer and a monsoon that I think you told the story, a lot of girls were white that day because it wasn't.
That was my greatest day as a college student. Uncle Dave's story. I go there and it's not supposed to rain, or we don't all have phones to tell us the weather. And so you wear either orange or white in the student section. And a lot of ladies chose to wear white that day, and it rained. So it was like a big wet t-shirt contest. This is before I met my wife. Okay. So I'm okay there. And there's not a lot of days where that's the case. But I just remember being there when Tennessee beat Florida, and I was like, man, this college thing, this is what it's all about.
That's great. And yes,
I decided to make a 6-year career out of it.
And so you could clearly see why that was an exciting win over Florida.
I could see a lot that day.
Yes. 98, do I really need to explain why the 98 win was more exciting than this one? Like no. Yeah. Do I really need to explain why the 01 win was more exciting than this one?
No.
03, that was a bad Florida team, but it was in the swamp, and you beat them by 2 touchdowns. More exciting than this one. 04, the James Woolhoit 50-yarder, more exciting than this one. 2016, you come back you erase a 11-year winning streak with an amazing second half of play. Very exciting. The only close one is the win over Florida 2 years ago, and I still think even that one was more exciting than this one. The last time, this is the least enthusiastic win over Florida for Tennessee. I'm going to go back to, it's a notable game because it would be the last time they beat Florida in the swamp in 30 years. But in 1971, Tennessee played at Florida. They were coming off a 10-9 loss at Auburn or against Auburn. And Tennessee went 99.5 yards to score a game-winning touchdown to beat Florida 20-13 in 1971 at Florida on October the 2nd. But that was kind of like this game, Dave, where it's like, man, they just had a loss they shouldn't have had against Auburn, and now they have this thrilling win against a team they shouldn't have needed a thrilling win against. Kind of concerning.
Okay, let me ask you this. Would the win be more exciting if it wasn't Alabama coming up and Tennessee hadn't slipped up against Arkansas? I mean, is how important is the backdrop to this win not being exciting?
Very important. That last thing you pointed out is the key. And maybe we could do a power rankings of what are the biggest reasons this is not exciting. Because Tennessee lost to Arkansas the week before, because the offense is struggling, because this is a bad Florida team they should have blown out, or because Alabama's coming up the next week. I mean, all of those things are on the table for this.
If you want to reset the poll question on YouTube, you can. I think the other factor that makes this non-exciting is that Billy Napier looks like he probably still hasn't found his way back to Gainesville because he looks so lost on the sideline. No, really. I mean, when you beat Steve Spurrier, or when you beat Nick Saban, or when you beat a coach of any quality whatsoever, you feel better about it. it's almost like Tennessee outcoached someone that just wasn't at all prepared for the Florida job, that that stayed in the game despite himself. So I think beating Billy Napier was a part of it, because that guy looked incredibly lost the whole time. I mean, I joked around about it, but it was kind of like at the guy at the nursing home that you're like, Billy, it's fourth door on the right. That's been your room for the past 4 years. So, I mean, he just looked lost. It didn't look like a big win, partly because of Billy Napier. I still say it's a monstrous win, and Tennessee fans should be over the moon right now, because I'll go back to this, Caleb. I think all of college football is better. What happens? Arkansas is able to go out and get a couple of players, happens to be from Tennessee, that made them a better football team. Vanderbilt's able to go out and get a quarterback that's made them a better football team. So I think the level of play is much higher right now, and that's causing games to be closer, and that's a survive and advance mentality like the NCAA tournament.
I mean, that's what a lot of people are saying, but I also think that part of this is, if you're a Tennessee fan, you're like, can we get one blowout against Florida? Can we just get one game against Florida where we just enjoy blowing them out the way they've done to Tennessee for like so many years? And they thought this was the year to do it, and you still had to eke it out. And Dave, it's funny you bring up the whole Billy Napier. Florida had 6 red zone trips and 17 points because of Billy Napier's coaching. And yeah, I'm sorry,
they had 4 and 3 points.
No, they had 6 red zone trips and 17 points.
Okay. I know out of the 4, at one point they only had 3 points. Nevertheless.
Well, this is exactly like the 98 win over Florida was, because the Tennessee was outplayed and kind of got lucky with some breaks to win. But in 98, you're like, it's Steve Spurrier, the number 2 ranked team in the country and one of the best defenses. This is Billy Napier's Florida Gators that are bad, and you needed that to win. And so I think it's more just people are concerned because of it. And so, yeah, it's the lack of excitement is, I've never seen this before. And I just want to bring this up real quick. It reminds me of 2003 Alabama, when Alabama, it was Mike Shula, Alabama. They were bad. They went 4-9 that year, and Tennessee needed 5 overtimes to beat Alabama on the road that year. And they have been coming off a 2-game losing streak to Georgia and Auburn. And yeah, it's like that.
I see Jacob Warren. We're getting right to him. Can I give a quick Uncle Dave story about Mike Shula?
Sure.
SEC Media Days, I knew where to post up to be the first to get interviews, because we used to pride ourselves when I worked with Jimmy Himes of interviewing every single player. And I go up to Mike Shula. You got to remember, this is in Birmingham, so there's like 5 million Alabama fans getting in my way that I would like to push down. So he comes up, and I say, hey, Mike, do you have a minute? He goes, sure. And then he looks around and sees the crowd and the number of media. This is his first year, and just goes, I got to pee. Just like Forrest Gump, and immediately had to go to the restroom, because it was not because he had to go that bad. He was ready to do the interview, but he was blown away by the people there.